Recording in progress.
Hi, thanks for joining me for a reading of Dr. A's Stop, Challenge, and Choose. We are on chapter 6, so fueling and drooling, eating healthy for life. Fueling and drooling, the Optimal Health Trilogy defines our overall health and is a valuable tool for refocusing your perspective of you, your current state, and your goals. I'd argue that no one area is more important than the other from a big picture view, but it tends to be most practical to address our physical well-being first. With your health in order, you have the energy and the confidence to make meaningful changes in other areas of your life, as well as longevity to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Eating healthy is a challenge, though, because every expert seems to have their own take on what is good and what is bad, and every perspective seems to contradict all the rest. Should you go vegan? Should you go paleo? Should you or shouldn't you eat egg yolks? What supplements should you take? How about one of those cleanse things that you heard that woman in your yoga class raving about? You don't need me to tell you that there's a lot of static in the health and wellness industry, but you do need someone to help you cut through the noise and practical, reality-based advice. When I talk about nutrition, I approach it from a perspective as a physician. Anything I recommend to you is grounded in medical research, and I've used these recommendations to help thousands of people like you make lasting changes in their health. Before we get into changing the habits you have surrounding food, we need to talk about why we eat. Then we can have the more informed conversation about what we eat. We eat for two reasons: fuel and gratification. The first is pretty straightforward. Our bodies need energy, so we consume it in the form of food to power everything we do. If we don't eat, we die. In a modern society, however, fuel is rarely hard to come by. Our problem is instead that we have too much fuel. So we've started to form habits where we eat not because we are hungry, but because we desire gratification. We might eat food to celebrate a special occasion, and we might eat food because we're feeling bad about ourselves. In creating habits of health, I'm not going to ask you to stop eating food. I am, however, going to challenge you to make nutritional decisions that are grounded in the context of your bigger goals. While we will talk about some of the basics of what to eat and when to eat it, one of your biggest projects will be to undo the habit that cue you to eat when you aren't really hungry, or that cue to eat far more than you really should. When you can break those habits of disease and follow them up with the habits of health, you create the potential for dramatic and very positive changes in your health. Energy intake, the formula for weight loss. The science of weight loss is not complicated. To burn fat, you need to burn more energy than you have taken in, forcing your body to use up the energy it has stored as fat. In order for this process to be done in a healthy, manageable way, the calorie gap between the energy you have consumed and the energy your body requires to function should be large enough so you burn fat as an energy source. You can create this disparity by using the techniques that lower your energy intake. Exercising is a great way to maintain a healthy weight, but not great at actually helping you lose weight. And if you're overweight, it can cause injury to knees, back, etc. We can go into great detail about this topic, and I do in my best-selling books, but for this brief ebook, I want to give you the reasonable starting point. To start, forget what you know about the food pyramid, and instead picture a 9-inch dinner plate. Half of the plate should be fruit and vegetables, 1/4 should be protein, and the other 1/4 should be starches, carbohydrates. At first, this may not sound filling, but if you fill your portions with low glycemic foods, you can make your meals feel more substantial without taking in unnecessarily calories. Since we are since we are limited by space, I've made all my low glycemic shopping carts available for free on my website at habitsofhealth.com. And that Habits of Health app is no longer in service, so don't go find that. My goal is to help you. Now the website is, but the Habits of Health app that he said after that is no longer in service. My goal is to help you lower your total calorie intake using portion control. Meal replacements can be a great help here as well, while increasing your intake of white meat and key foods like vegetables, fruits, nuts, fish, legumes, extra virgin olive oil, and red wine in moderation. At the same time, we will decrease the intake of red and processed meats, sodas, whole dairy products, commercial bakery goods, and sweets. Now that you have a better sense of what to eat, and it's okay if we have some learning to do on the front, let's use our previous discussion of why we eat to explore the how of the change you need to make. One of the most basic cues that challenges nearly all of us is to eat the food we have in front of us. We have taught ourselves to eat until our plates are empty, rather than stopping when we feel full. And we've taken that habit and applied it to bags full of chips and sleeves full of cookies. To make this cue work for us, use smaller plates. Again, he recommends the 9-inch plate, and avoid eating in the kitchen. If you're having a snack, never eat directly out of the bag. Take a small sample and leave the room. You should also try taking smaller bites and chewing longer, and give your body a chance to feel full before you go after second helpings. Some of the more difficult habits to reweave are the ones rooted in emotion. The cues for these habits can be sadness, rejection, anger, loneliness, or something as mundane and as boredom. We might reach for a candy bar when our boss yells at us, or we might grab a gallon of ice cream if our plans fall through. These are prime opportunities to stop, challenge, choose, and to create new routines. Your awareness is the key here. If you can recalibrate the way you handle these situations, you can eliminate one of the largest sources of unnecessary calories. We need to eat when we're hungry. Managing energy intake, becoming aware of your triggers to eat. So we need to eat when we are hungry. That is the correct time to actually put food in your mouth. If you reflect on your daily life, however, you will likely find that you eat for many more reasons other than hunger. Falling into these traps is also too easy, and the influx of unnecessary calories can quickly add up to excess fat. Later, we will look at an example of cue routine reward cycle that relates to food to give you an idea of how to reprogram your habits. To help you identify areas where you might need to use this process, consider the following list that outlines some of the situations that may cue you to load up on calories when you aren't actually hungry. Once you're able to identify these problem areas, you can insert an alternative routine to help you turn your habits of disease into habits of health. So food as a habit, eating without paying attention. Food as a stress relief, food as a reward, food as a boredom reliever, food as a social facilitator, food as love, food because it's there. That used to be mine. Which are your Achilles heels? If you're like most of us, you have several, creating a compounding effect that results in a massive influx of unnecessary calories. In a given day, you might absent-mindedly eat a few M&Ms from your office mate's candy bowl. You might eat an extra snack while you dig through that intense project. After work, you might drop into a happy hour to celebrate the completion of a big initiative. While you are there, you eat an appetizer and have a beer as you talk with friends. At home, you might eat an extra piece of cake because you had an argument with a family member. Late at night, you might grab a few extra bites of that same cake because, well, it's there. These small choices over the course of a single day can account for the significant amount of unnecessary energy for your body. If you plot the progression out over a week, a month, a year, you start to see the power of habits. So let's harness the power of habits to serve you, not hurt you. Emotional eating response, programming a bad habit. The phrase comfort food is commonplace for a reason. Food can very easily become an emotional crutch for coping with some very painful emotions. Unfortunately, overeating temporarily relieves that emotional pain and instead leaves us worse off than we started. Not only in the original problem still there when the ice cream is gone, but now we are on track for all the challenges that came with obesity. To put us on the course for optimal health, let's first understand the structure of this habit loop. Habit of disease loop. Comfort. Cue. Boss yells at you. Routine. Eat a candy bar. Reward. Soothed emotions. To truly come out ahead in this situation, we need a routine that will help us deal with the stress that our boss may have caused us. Instead of eating a bag of M&Ms, we could use the breathing exercise we learned in the first chapter. So the habit loop for comfort. Cue. Boss yells at you. Routine. Breathing exercises. Reward. Soothed emotion. In this version of our habit, we are able to experience the same reward without the harmful side effects of consuming unhealthy food and excess calories. You now anticipate fulfilling the craving for comfort by the stress release of breathing away the angst. We may even come out farther ahead because we are practicing a mindful way of dealing directly with the way the cue makes us feel rather than simply overcoming it with some sugary food. Take a moment to reflect on your other habits of eating and work to restructure them in this same way. All right, and we'll move into chapter 7 later.